Christmas morning used to mean warmth, laughter, and the smell of cinnamon rolls filling our family home. This year I brought Sarah to meet everyone for the first time. She was nervous but excited, clutching the handmade gifts she spent weeks creating for my parents and siblings. I promised her they would love her just like I do. I never imagined that by noon we would both be standing in my childhood living room, tears streaming down our faces while my family laughed at their cruel joke. Before I tell you what happened, let me know where you are watching from, and please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that will make you think twice about family loyalty. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare began. My name is Tracy, and 6 months ago my life changed when I met Sarah at a coffee shop in Portland. She was sketching in a corner booth, completely absorbed in her art, and something about her quiet intensity drew me in. What started as a conversation about her drawings became coffee dates, then dinner dates, then spending entire weekends together, talking about everything and nothing. Sarah grew up in foster care, moving between different homes throughout her childhood. She never had what most people consider a traditional family Christmas. No stockings hung by a fireplace, no family traditions passed down through generations. No aunts and uncles gathering around a dining room table sharing stories and laughter. When she told me about spending Christmas mornings in group homes with kids she barely knew, my heart broke for the little girl who never experienced the magic I took for granted. As our relationship deepened, I found myself wanting to share everything with her, especially my family. The Hendersons were loud, boisterous, and had always been the center of my world. My parents, Margaret and Robert, lived in the same suburban Denver house where I grew up. My twin brothers, Jake and Tyler, 22 and fresh out of college, still came home for every holiday. My younger sister, Emma, 19, and in her sophomore year at University of Colorado, brought energy and chaos wherever she went. Our family had always been known for pranks. Nothing mean-spirited, or so I thought. Dad would put plastic wrap under the toilet seat. Mom would freeze cereal and milk for April Fool's breakfast. The twins would short-sheet beds or hide speakers playing strange noises in each other's rooms. Emma once convinced me that she had adopted a pet snake and kept it in her closet for 3 days before revealing it was fake. Everyone always laughed about these jokes afterward, though I sometimes wondered if the person being pranked found them as funny as everyone else did. When I told my family about Sarah over our weekly video calls, they seemed genuinely excited to meet her. Mom asked about her background and interests. Dad wanted to know about her job as a freelance graphic designer. The twins joked about finally getting to embarrass me in front of a girlfriend. Emma immediately started planning activities we could all do together during our Christmas visit. Sarah spent weeks preparing for this trip. She wanted to make the perfect first impression, so she decided to create handmade gifts for everyone. For my parents, she made a beautiful photo album filled with pictures of families from different cultures, each page accompanied by quotes about acceptance, love, and the meaning of family. She spent hours researching and carefully writing out each quote in her artistic handwriting. For Jake and Tyler, she knitted matching scarves in their favorite football team colors. I watched her work on them night after night, counting stitches and starting over when she made mistakes. She had never knitted before, but was determined to learn because she wanted to give them something personal and meaningful. For Emma, Sarah created a custom jewelry box, painting it by hand, with intricate designs that reflected Emma's love of nature and photography. She even installed small compartments with tiny labels for different types of earrings and necklaces. I reassured Sarah constantly that my family would love her. During our phone conversations in the weeks leading up to Christmas, everyone sounded genuinely excited about meeting her. Mom asked me to find out her favorite Christmas cookies so she could make them. Dad mentioned looking forward to showing her his woodworking shop. The twins wanted to take us skiing if the snow was good. Emma planned a whole day of activities, including ice skating and hot chocolate at their favorite downtown cafe. Sarah shared stories about her childhood during those weeks of preparation. Christmas mornings in group homes where social workers tried their best to create magic with limited resources. Foster families who sometimes forgot she was there during family celebrations. The year she turned 16 and aged out of the system, spending Christmas alone in her first apartment, with a frozen dinner and a small artificial tree from the dollar store. I promised her this Christmas would be different. This would be her first real family Christmas surrounded by people who would love and accept her. I painted pictures of our family traditions, the warmth and chaos and unconditional love that filled our house every December. I told her about Christmas Eve dinners that lasted for hours, gift exchanges that stretched throughout the morning, and how everyone would be talking over each other, but somehow still listening to every word. Christmas Eve arrived cold and crisp with snow falling softly as we drove up to my childhood home. The house looked like something from a Christmas card, with lights stringing every roofline and illuminated decorations covering the front yard. Sarah squeezed my hand as we walked up the driveway carrying our suitcases and the carefully wrapped gifts she had made. The front door opened before we could knock, and my entire family spilled out to greet us. Mom enveloped Sarah in a huge hug, saying how beautiful she was and how excited everyone was to finally meet her. Dad took our bags and insisted on giving Sarah a tour of the house immediately. The twins high-fived her and started telling embarrassing stories about me. Emma linked arms with Sarah and began chattering about all the plans she had made for our visit. I felt relief wash over me as I watched Sarah's nervousness fade. She laughed at Dad's jokes, complimented Mom's cooking, and listened with genuine interest as Emma showed her photo albums from family vacations. During Christmas Eve dinner, Sarah fit in seamlessly, asking questions about family traditions and sharing funny stories from her work as a graphic designer. That night, lying in my childhood bedroom together, Sarah whispered that she finally understood why family was so important to me. She said my parents and siblings were exactly as wonderful as I had described them, and she felt lucky to be included in something so special. I fell asleep that night feeling happier than I had ever been, knowing that the two most important parts of my life were finally coming together. Christmas morning dawned bright and cold, with fresh snow covering everything in pristine white. Sarah woke up early, too excited to sleep, and spent extra time getting ready because she wanted to look perfect for our family gift exchange. She wore a red sweater that brought out the green in her eyes and carried herself with the confidence of someone who finally felt like she belonged. Breakfast was a traditional Henderson family affair. Mom made her famous cinnamon rolls. Dad cooked his special Christmas morning hash browns, and everyone gathered around the kitchen island sharing coffee and orange juice. Sarah helped Mom set out plates and listened intently as each family member shared their favorite Christmas memory from childhood. Mom asked Sarah about her background, appearing genuinely interested in her stories about growing up in different foster homes. Dad wanted to know about her artistic process and how she had learned to create such beautiful graphic designs. The twins teased her good-naturedly about her coffee addiction and her obsession with organizing everything in neat little containers. Emma showed her pictures from Christmases past, explaining the history behind various family traditions and inside jokes. I watched Sarah blossom in this environment, seeing her laugh freely and contribute her own stories to the conversation. When Mom mentioned how much she admired people who could create beautiful things with their hands, Sarah blushed and thanked her for the compliment. When Dad talked about his woodworking hobby, Sarah asked intelligent questions and showed genuine interest in his projects. As we moved into the living room for gift exchange, I noticed my family seemed unusually excited, exchanging glances and barely contained grins. At the time, I thought they were just happy about the presents we had brought or excited about their gifts for Sarah. Mom kept checking her phone, and Dad seemed to be waiting for some kind of signal. The twins whispered to each other and then burst into random laughter. Emma bounced in her seat like she was keeping the world's best secret. We had always followed a specific order for gift opening. The youngest person got to go first, so Emma opened her presents while everyone watched and commented. Then we moved up by age with each person taking their time to appreciate each gift and thank the giver properly. Sarah went after Emma since she was only a year older, and I felt my heart swell with pride as she unwrapped the thoughtful gifts my family had chosen for her. Mom gave her a beautiful journal with her initials embossed on the cover. Dad presented her with a professional set of colored pencils for her artistic work. The twins had picked out a cozy blanket printed with whimsical coffee cups and steam patterns. Emma's gift was a delicate silver bracelet with tiny charms representing different art supplies. Sarah was emotional as she thanked everyone, saying she had never received such thoughtful personal gifts before. She wiped away tears as she hugged each family member, telling them how much their acceptance meant to her. I felt tears in my own eyes watching this woman I loved be embraced by the people who had shaped my entire life. Then it was time for Sarah to give her handmade presents. She started with the photo album for my parents, explaining how she had chosen each image and quote to represent the beauty of family in all its forms. Mom and Dad flipped through every page, slowly reading each quote aloud and commenting on the artistic layout. They seemed genuinely moved by the time and thought Sarah had put into creating something so personal for people she had never met. Next came the knitted scarves for Jake and Tyler. They immediately tried them on, modeling them dramatically and joking about how they would wear them to every football game for the rest of their lives. They thanked Sarah profusely, saying no one had ever made them anything by hand before, and they could tell how much work had gone into learning a new skill just for them. Finally, Sarah presented Emma with the hand-painted jewelry box. Emma gasped when she opened it, running her fingers over the intricate designs and opening each tiny compartment to see the careful details Sarah had included. She hugged Sarah tightly, saying it was the most beautiful and thoughtful gift anyone had ever given her. The mood in the room was warm and emotional, filled with genuine appreciation and love. I felt like my heart might burst with happiness, watching my girlfriend and my family connect so deeply. This was exactly what I had dreamed Christmas would be like, everyone I loved gathered together and creating new memories. Then Mom cleared her throat and announced that they had a special surprise for Sarah. She said they wanted to welcome her to the family properly with a gift that showed how much they already cared about her. Dad wheeled out a large wrapped box from behind the Christmas tree, bigger than anything else that had been opened that morning. Sarah looked surprised and touched, saying they had already given her so much, and she did not expect anything else. Mom insisted that this was different, something the whole family had planned together specifically to show Sarah how they felt about her joining our family. Emma was recording everything on her phone, saying she wanted to capture Sarah's reaction to such a special moment. Sarah carefully removed the wrapping paper, taking her time, because she wanted to savor what she clearly saw as a meaningful gesture. When she lifted the lid of the box, her face went from anticipation to confusion to horror in a matter of seconds. Inside was a collection of cruel joke items that made my stomach drop the moment I saw them. There was a book titled How to Spot a Gold Digger, with a bookmark placed at a chapter about recognizing warning signs. A fake diamond ring sat in a small box with a note attached reading, "Since you are probably expecting one of these soon." A budget cookbook called Delicious Meals on Food Stamps had sticky notes marking recipes for cheap dates and impressing people when you have nothing. Thrift store clothes with original $5 price tags still attached were folded neatly in the bottom, along with a gift card to a discount grocery store for $25. The room erupted in planned laughter as my family watched Sarah's face crumble. Everyone had their phones out, recording her reaction from different angles. Jake clapped his hands and said, "Did you really think we would accept our sister's phase this easily?" Tyler added, "The lesbian thing is bad enough, but bringing home a charity case too." Emma was live streaming the whole thing to her social media accounts, narrating Sarah's reaction for her followers. Mom explained through her laughter that it was all just a harmless prank. They wanted to see how Sarah would react when tested. Dad chimed in that they needed to find out if she was really with me for the right reasons or just looking for a family to take care of her. Emma posted the video to our family group chat, immediately adding laughing emoji and tagging other relatives who would find it hilarious. Sarah sat frozen on the floor where she had dropped when her legs gave out, staring at the contents of the box like she could not believe what she was seeing. I stood there in complete shock, my brain struggling to process that the people I loved and trusted most in the world had planned this elaborate cruelty for someone I cared about deeply. The laughter continued around us as family members made additional comments about the joke gifts and Sarah's reaction. Someone mentioned how long they had spent planning this surprise and how hard it had been to keep it secret. Another person commented on how perfectly Sarah's face had changed when she realized what was happening. They treated her devastation like entertainment, completely oblivious to the real pain they were causing. I followed Sarah outside as she stumbled toward our rental car, my family's laughter still echoing from inside the house. She was shaking uncontrollably, whether from cold or shock I could not tell. When I tried to put my arms around her, she initially pulled away, then collapsed against me, sobbing harder than I had ever seen anyone cry. "Did you know?" she whispered against my shoulder. "Please tell me you did not know they were going to do that." The fact that she even had to ask broke something inside me, but I understood why the question was necessary. From her perspective, this elaborate humiliation could only have been planned with my cooperation. I assured her I had no idea that I was as shocked and horrified as she was. But even as I said the words, I realized how naive I had been about my family's capacity for cruelty. All those years of harmless pranks suddenly took on a different meaning when I saw them through Sarah's eyes. How many times had someone been genuinely hurt by my family's idea of fun, only to be told they were being too sensitive when they did not laugh along? We drove to a hotel in downtown Denver, neither of us speaking during the 20-minute ride. Sarah stared out the window while tears continued streaming down her face. I kept reaching over to squeeze her hand, trying to offer comfort, but she seemed unreachable in her pain. When we checked in, she immediately went to the bathroom and stayed there for nearly an hour. My phone started ringing before we even got to our room. First Mom, then Dad, then various combinations of siblings. I let every call go to voicemail, but the messages they left made me angrier with each one I heard. Instead of apologies, they were defensive explanations about why their prank was funny and justified. Mom's message was the worst. "Tracy, honey, we spent good money on those joke gifts, and the least Sarah could do is appreciate the effort we put into welcoming her. We were just having some family fun, and if she cannot handle our sense of humor, maybe she is not the right fit for our family anyway." Dad left a voicemail saying they were protecting me from making a mistake by getting too serious with someone who was obviously using me for stability and family connections. He said they could tell from the moment they met her that she was too eager to please and probably had ulterior motives for dating me. The twins sent a group text with more jokes about the incident, including memes they had made using screenshots from Emma's video. They seemed to think the whole thing was hilarious and could not understand why we had left without laughing along with everyone else. Emma's message hurt the most because I had always been closest to her. She said I was being dramatic and ruining Christmas over a harmless joke. She mentioned how viral her video was already going, with hundreds of shares and comments from people laughing at Sarah's reaction. She seemed proud of the attention, rather than concerned about the harm they had caused. I sat in that hotel room, watching Sarah curl up in a ball on the bed, still wearing the red sweater she had chosen so carefully that morning. She looked small and broken, like the little girl who used to spend Christmas mornings alone in group homes. All the confidence and joy I had seen growing in her over the past 6 months seemed to have disappeared in a single cruel moment. The next morning, we drove back to my family's house to collect our belongings and confront them about their behavior. I was determined to make them understand the real damage they had done and demand a genuine apology. Sarah initially did not want to go back, but she agreed when I promised we would not stay long. We found them in the kitchen having breakfast, acting like nothing unusual had happened. Mom offered us coffee, and asked if we had enjoyed our night out. Dad commented that we looked tired and suggested we should have just stayed at the house instead of wasting money on a hotel. The twins were showing people the video on their phones, replaying Sarah's reaction and laughing at specific moments. When I confronted them about their cruelty, they became defensive immediately. Robert said they were protecting me from making a mistake by getting involved with someone who was clearly using me for a family and financial stability. Margaret insisted that if Sarah really loved me, she would have laughed along with their joke instead of taking it so personally. Jake and Tyler said they were just having fun and could not understand why everyone was being so serious about a simple prank. They showed me comments on Emma's social media posts, pointing out how many people thought the whole thing was hilarious and praising my family for their creativity. Emma defended herself by saying she was just documenting a family moment and sharing it with friends. She showed me that the video already had thousands of views and hundreds of shares, with people tagging their own friends and family members. She seemed to think the viral nature of her post proved that what they had done was funny rather than cruel. Throughout this confrontation, Sarah remained quietly dignified. She did not yell or cry or defend herself against their accusations. Instead, she simply listened to their justifications and excuses. When they finished explaining why their behavior was acceptable, she spoke for the first time since we had arrived. "I would like to keep the gifts you gave me," she said calmly. "Not because I think they are funny, but because I want to remember exactly how cruel people can choose to be even to someone who has done nothing wrong to them." Her grace in that moment contrasted sharply with my family's continued defensiveness and lack of remorse. While they made jokes and excuses, she maintained her dignity despite being the target of their organized humiliation. I realized I was seeing the difference between someone who had survived real hardship with strength and people who had never faced consequences for their thoughtless actions. I gave my family an ultimatum: apologize sincerely and immediately, or lose me from their lives forever. I expected them to recognize the seriousness of the situation and make things right with Sarah and me. Instead, they doubled down on their position that we were overreacting to harmless fun. Margaret tried to manipulate me by making it a choice between my family and some girl you have only known for 6 months. She said family should always come first, and if I could not see that they were trying to protect me, then maybe I needed time to think about my priorities. Robert threatened to cut me off financially, apparently forgetting that I had been supporting myself since college and did not depend on them for money. He seemed to think economic pressure would force me to choose their side and abandon Sarah. Jake and Tyler continued making jokes about the situation, suggesting I could find another girlfriend easily, but would only have one family. They acted like relationships were disposable, while family bonds were permanent, regardless of how family members treated each other. Emma used peer pressure, saying all her friends thought the prank was hilarious, and I was being too sensitive. She showed me more social media responses, as if public opinion validated their actions, rather than revealed how many people shared their capacity for cruelty. In that moment, I realized my family valued being right about their joke more than they valued my happiness or their relationship with me. They cared more about defending their right to humiliate someone than about the real pain they had caused. They chose pride over love, justification over empathy. Sarah and I collected our belongings, including the box of cruel joke gifts, and left my childhood home for the last time. As we loaded our rental car, I could hear them inside still talking about how we were overreacting and would probably come crawling back once we got over our anger. During the long drive back to Portland, Sarah suggested something that initially surprised me. Instead of throwing away the expensive Christmas gifts my family had intended for themselves, she thought we should donate them to children who would truly appreciate them. She mentioned Children's Hospital Colorado, where kids spend holidays away from their own families, often without visitors or presents. Her suggestion revealed the fundamental difference between her character and my family's. While they used their resources to hurt and humiliate, her instinct was to transform something negative into genuine help for people who needed it. Where they saw entertainment in someone else's pain, she saw opportunity to create real joy for children facing much more serious challenges than hurt feelings. We researched children's hospitals in the Denver area and learned about Children's Hospital Colorado's holiday program. Long-term patients often spent Christmas morning in hospital rooms instead of around family trees, and many received few or no gifts from relatives who lived far away or could not afford to visit regularly. I made the decision to cut contact with my family entirely. This was not a temporary cooling-off period or a dramatic gesture designed to make them apologize. Their response to my ultimatum had shown me exactly who they really were, and I chose to believe them rather than continue hoping they would change. We loaded our truck with hundreds of dollars worth of gifts my family had purchased for themselves: expensive electronics, designer clothes, luxury accessories, and high-end home goods. Items that would have sat under their tree for a few hours before being forgotten in closets and drawers became precious treasures for children who had very little. The drive back to Denver felt different this time. Instead of nervous anticipation about family acceptance, I felt peace about the choice I was making. Sarah and I talked about building our own traditions, creating the kind of family we wanted to be part of, and surrounding ourselves with people who understood that love means protection and support, not tolerance of cruelty. Arriving at Children's Hospital Colorado on a cold January morning, we were greeted by staff members who explained how meaningful holiday donations were for their patients. Many children spent weeks or months in treatment, missing multiple holidays and special occasions. Gifts from strangers often provided the only presents they received during long hospital stays. We watched as hospital staff distributed our donations to children throughout the pediatric wards. A 7-year-old girl receiving cancer treatment hugged a stuffed animal that had been intended for Emma and refused to let it go during her chemotherapy session. 2 brothers sharing a room decorated their space with art supplies that my parents had bought for themselves, creating colorful pictures to send home to family members they missed. A teenage boy undergoing treatment for a rare genetic disorder received a tablet computer that Jake had wanted, immediately using it to video chat with friends he had not seen in months. His face lit up with pure joy as he showed off his unexpected gift, explaining to his classmates how someone had thought to make his day special. Sarah cried watching these children experience genuine happiness from our donations. She told me later that seeing their faces helped heal some of the pain from Christmas morning, replacing the memory of my family's cruel laughter with images of real joy and gratitude. I wrote a letter to my family explaining what we had done with their gifts and why. I wanted them to understand that their cruelty had been transformed into genuine kindness for children who deserved better than they had received from us. I included photos the hospital staff had taken of kids enjoying their new presents, hoping my family might recognize the difference between bringing joy and causing pain. The letter was also my goodbye, explaining that I was blocking their phone numbers and social media accounts. This was not punishment, but protection, choosing to surround myself with people who built me up rather than tore me down. I thanked them for teaching me what I did not want to become, and wished them well in their future without me. 6 months later, Sarah and I are stronger than ever. She continues volunteering at children's hospitals, using her artistic skills to create custom drawings and paintings for young patients. Her experience with my family's cruelty taught her that she deserved respect and kindness, leading her to set better boundaries in all her relationships. I spent time in therapy working through feelings of guilt and grief about losing my family. My therapist helped me understand that choosing to walk away from toxic relationships, even with relatives, can be the healthiest decision for everyone involved. I learned that enabling bad behavior by continuing to accept it does not help anyone grow or change. We celebrated our first Christmas together without my family by volunteering at a local shelter, serving meals to people who needed community and warmth during the holidays. Sarah made ornaments by hand for families staying at the shelter, creating beautiful decorations they could keep as reminders that someone cared about their situation. Our apartment became home to friends who needed support during difficult times. chosen family members who understood that love requires action, not just words. We created traditions based on generosity, inclusivity, and genuine care for each other's well being, rather than tolerance of harmful behavior disguised as humor. Sarah made an ornament for our tree that first year together, a simple wooden star with the words, "Family is who you choose," painted in elegant script. It hangs at the top of our tree now, reminding us that the most meaningful relationships are built on mutual respect, support, and kindness. Looking back on that terrible Christmas morning, I realize it was actually a gift in disguise. My family's cruelty revealed their true characters and forced me to choose between enabling their behavior and protecting someone I loved. The choice was easier than I expected, once I understood what was really at stake. I learned that blood relationships do not excuse toxic behavior, and that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who hurt you repeatedly. Real family builds you up, celebrates your happiness, and treats the people you love with respect and kindness. Sarah taught me that survival and grace can coexist, that someone who has faced real hardship can still choose compassion over bitterness. Her response to my family's cruelty showed me what strength actually looks like, not fighting back with more pain, but transforming negative experiences into opportunities to help others. Most importantly, I discovered that choosing love over loyalty to harmful people opens space for genuine relationships built on mutual respect and support. The family I have now built through choice rather than obligation provides the acceptance and unconditional love I thought I was getting from my biological relatives, but never actually experienced. Sometimes walking away is not giving up, but growing up recognizing that you deserve better and creating the life you want, rather than accepting the life others think you should have. The gifts may have ended up at a children's hospital, but the real present was freedom to love and be loved the way everyone deserves. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and protecting someone you love? How do you handle toxic relationships with people who are supposed to care about you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story helped you think about your own relationships differently, please like this video and subscribe for more real stories about finding strength in difficult situations. Share this with someone who might need to hear that they deserve respect and kindness from everyone in their life, including family members. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope you find the courage to surround yourself with people who celebrate your happiness rather than tear it down.